KXEX, the best talk in town. Should be a lively discussion today. I really look forward to this. It's a nearby county, Madera County. I have Mark Reed on. He is running for Madera County Supervisor. I cannot remember which district, but it is the mountains.
5th District.
It's 5th District.
All of Eastern Madera County.
All of Eastern Madera County. But before we get there, a couple things that I want to address. Tonight, I have Diane Pierce. She is running for Clovis City Council, and she will be speaking at the Clovis chapter of Constitutionalist for California meeting at 508 4th Street. That is the American Legion Hall. Should be a good discussion. I think she's a good candidate. Something I look forward to. We also have a couple big events here in the Central Valley that should be fun. On September 20th, Let Freedom Ring. That is largely sponsored by Breaking the Chains, which is Deborah Rush. They have an event to honor the police and the first responders. It is at 5 p.m. It is at the Clovis Rodeo Grounds. September 20th, 5 p.m., Clovis Rodeo Grounds. Next event, the Great American Freedom Revival. That is going to be October 1st. That's a Saturday from 11 to 4 at Bicentennial Park in Clovis. Look forward to that event. I will have a table there. So, and I'm supposed to go up and speak, so you'll have to listen to me ramble on for a minute if you go, but should be okay.
It's a good ramble.
Most of the time. You know, I at least keep people awake when I speak.
There you go.
When I first started, sometimes I wondered whether they could make it through a whole show and stay awake. My final event, October 15th, the Dollar Monthly, which is a local Kingsburg paper, has about 8,000 people distribution, so 8,000 copies, is having a fundraiser. They are kind of honoring the USO, kind of a World War II USO show tribute. It's going to be a dinner. They have a band, casino, raffle, tours. That is from 5 to 9 at the Kingsburg Historical Park. So that is October 15th. It is, I believe, $60. You can either go to Kingsburg and go to the Swedish boutique and see June, and she'll sell you a ticket, or you can go to thedollarmonthly.com and get your tickets that way. Or if you happen to run into me, a lot of my viewers know me personally. I have some tickets. Should be a lot of fun. I went to their fundraiser last year. We dressed up. There was dancing. There was dinner. There was a casino. It was a good event.
It's good to get out and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Good to be around like-minded people. Well, that's all my events. So, Mark, welcome.
Absolutely. Great to be back with you, Eric.
I'm not sure everybody knows about you, so just a little brief history.
A little brief history. Well, I've got 48 years of business management. I've got 37 years of business ownership. I met my wife when I was 11. We've been married just had our anniversary, actually, on the 19th of August. I had my birthday on the 11th of August. I'm 65 years old. We got 45 years of marriage. We have 11 grandchildren and 3 adult children. Running for the district, the county supervisor, District 5, and it's been quite interesting. Let me tell you,
Politics is by its very nature interesting.
Well, you know, you kind of chalked it up. I'm having fun now because the petulance of my opponent is shining bright and big. They've come after me at all kinds of levels, and they have a team, and they justify this. I feel like I'm in the Soviet Union. They justify having their campaign supporters following me around town taking pictures. And
Yeah, I just had a thought.
Yes.
Now, I looked at some of his financials,
Yeah.
and he seems to have spent $8,000 on a photographer.
Yeah.
I wonder if that photographer's following you around, and that's how he's spending his cash donations.
This was in the primary, so now this is going on in the general. They actually had a couple people following me around taking pictures. Now I'm a handicap. I have a handicap placard. I'm going to show that to you so you can let your viewers know. Yes, I actually do have a permanent disabled handicap placard.
Absolutely. Sure enough.
Yep. But they put it out on Facebook because
with the official seal of the state of California.
Right. So they make a meme out of it. And the meme says that because I'm parking in a handicapped spot, I do not know the difference between good and evil and right and wrong. It's like, really? How's that? So, and then I put that out there on Facebook, and another person, I'm not going to use names because I already used 5 names once, made them famous all the way down to San Diego, and they had a blast with it. And they're the victims, by the way.
Yeah.
But they made themselves famous by, going to all the press and doing press conferences and doing protests against me. And it's hysterical after a while. You look at it, and the petulance is just mind-boggling. So anyways, we put it out there, and they're going after the date that it was issued. Well, it was issued actually 33 years ago. If you understand permanent disabled placards, they're sent to you.
This is just your
year.
renewal.
Yeah, they just send it to you. Once the doctor has signed off on it, they send it to you every year. And I have a visual handicap. So basically, they call me a cyclops. I'm blind in my left eye. My 11 to 4 o'clock vision is gone. So if you want me to park next to your car, sign a waiver, and I'll give it a shot because I'll most likely hit it. And based on the picture that they took of my parking job, it shows my problem with parking. I had to stay away from a car next to me, so I was a little further over in the slot than normal. But this is the most important issues to them. They came out and attacked me on my driving record. While I'm putting this out here, you can look at my driving record. They've come out and said that I have an open DUI. I've got another DUI. I've got arrest warrants in San Luis Obispo. I'm a danger on the street. I've endangered my children. So a great supporter of mine, Matt Markle, said, Mark, just go down to DMV and get a printout of your driving record, which goes back on any felonies or misdemeanors, about 20 years.
Well,
And
for the record,
what do you see on there?
license status valid, department actions, none, convictions, none, failures to appear, none, accidents, none.
None. He said it was one of the cleaner ones he's ever seen. And for a person of my age, that's what we expect is a clean driving record. Because when you're younger, you speed around, you do some stupid stuff.
Guilty.
Then you learn it's like $700 for speeding. It's not worth it anymore. So you kind of slow down, you take it easy, and you drive, within the boundaries of what the road tells you to do. Then it dives in. Have you heard about the housing project?
Before we jump in, I
Yes.
just want to address one thing about your opponent.
Yes.
He contacted the radio station.
Oh, yeah.
He demanded to be put on and demanded equal time.
Yes.
Now, this is a private podcast, and I pay the station. They don't pay me. It's also beyond the 45-day limit, so we're more than 45 days away from
Right.
an election, so I can do what I want. Nonetheless, I invited him then to come on because he demanded it. It was kind of a rude little demand, but I was willing, and I didn't hear anything but crickets. So we thought, well, maybe he didn't get it. So I reached out to Bobby McCauley a second time. Didn't hear a word. All I can conclude is that photographer that he spent $8,000 on, he must be busy getting his beautiful photograph taken.
Something.
Because the offer was made, and for those that are his supporters, I'm looking you right in the eye telling you, hey, he demanded it. We offered it. Nothing. We offered again. Nothing. Doesn't speak very well. He could have just said, I can't make that date or something instead of nothing.
That's the maturity levels of his campaign. And it's not very mature, to be honest with you.
Well, I was shocked. If he just said, I'd like to come on, I would have had him on. For instance, I had both candidates for DA that were running in Kings County.
Right.
They both got equal time.
Yeah.
And all the second one did was say, I'd like to be on. And I said, sure.
You and I have both produced shows. We know we like that. We like to be balanced, fair. We don't want to show, favorability to one side or the other, even though we may have made our decisions of who we're going to vote for based on our own philosophies and our own values.
No, I'd given him a fair shot.
Yeah, but we do believe in bringing people on. We like that fair and balanced look. We want to give that equal say-so. So, on that being said, the housing project, which I've been given credit for shutting it down, closing it out, killing the whole project.
So
right?
so people understand this is the housing project that is right near the high school in Oakhurst?
Right near the high school, elementary school, middle school, the Boys and Girls Club, literally adjacent properties.
Okay.
Literally adjacent. It's not, the high school is a couple blocks down, but the middle school, the elementary school, and the Boys and Girls Club, literally right next to it. It was 120 units. That's being pushed out there for the last year as a workforce housing project of low and middle income. Sounds great. I'm not against low and middle income housing. I had a hard time talking about it. They tried pushing the application for the conditional use permit through on election night, expecting nobody to show up. The pamphlet or the booklet for the CUP is distributed to the property owners within 300 feet of that project so they can protest it on election night. It was about 210, 220 pages long. I get it about 4 days prior to election night. I read it. I go, there's a lot of problems involved in this with traffic, the loss of value to the adjacent properties, commercial properties, because they're using commercial property to do it. There was issues with traffic, major traffic issues going on. And there's 12 buildings 45 feet tall. Now, I'm a person, they say I'm from Los Angeles. This is a Los Angeles low-income housing project that creates what they call blight. It's like the towers in downtown LA. This would be equivalent to those towers in a small town called Oakhurst. 45 feet tall, 3 floors. You've got the blind going around for all the mechanicals up on the roof. Now, I don't have a problem, Eric, with low-income housing. Low-income people, they need help. They're struggling. They're getting on their feet. They're going out there. It might be single mothers, single fathers with children. You have senior living as well involved in there. But that wasn't the issue. When I spoke at the Planning Commission, I went after what they call findings of fact, which was number 2, 3, and 4, which was it did not have any negative impacts on the community. Didn't have any negative impacts on traffic, didn't have any negative impacts on parking, didn't have any negative impacts on the commercial properties next to it, didn't have any negative impacts by visual, just the beautification of the area. It had no negative impact. That was the first things that came out was, no, it does have a negative impact.
Right. You're saying all those and red flags are going off in my head.
Exactly. Well, this is what they attack as being NIMBYism, not in my backyard. You don't want this kind of a project. No, I'm okay with low income housing. We need it. There's absolutely no question we need housing up in eastern Madera County. We lack it massively. That wasn't the issue. The Planning Commission first voted 2-2, so it failed. The attorney for the county came back and said, no, you can't do that. You need to revote. They revoted, it went 3-1. Well, the 2 property owners next to it, they hired attorneys. Sierra Tal even hired attorney because it's right next to it also. Nobody wanted it there that was adjacent to the properties. Once it got out to the community didn't want it. They were like, no, that's not the right thing. The primary reason why they didn't want it, though, was because of the inhabitants. I've been attacked all over the place. And here's kind of a prime example of one of the attacks. And like I said, I'm not going to use names anymore because I'm tired of making people famous. They should be because of their foulness involved. This one here goes, I'll shorten the word, F you, Mark. You have irreparably damaged our community with your big city BS. No one was divided over the project until you showed up and told your sheeple lies and stirred up the hate. In another time, you would be tarred and feathered and rolled out on a rail with your carpet bagging and your Nazi kid. This is my opponent's supporters. I've got...
Well, they certainly have a level of maturity.
I have hundreds of these that have been put out there. First of all, nobody in the community knew the project was where it was going to be. It was advertised for over a year of workforce housing, low income
right, but
housing.
why would you have the final decision on election night? That's a game that somebody's playing.
You want to push it through without anybody seeing it.
Exactly.
I had to give up a lot of things that I was doing on election night to show up for this. So then they had a, the hearing. Because now they hired the attorneys. The attorneys went in there under CEQA and they wanted an EIR report, environmental impact report. they wanted these things because based on traffic studies and everything that was going on there. So they did a great presentation. A whole bunch of people from the community came in. I spoke as well. It was asked at the Planning Commission, is there going to be transitional housing? The SHE organization said no. That's because it's called permanent supportive care housing. Transitional housing, like you and I know, it was a 3 to 6 month program. It got them on their feet. They got into an apartment and they left. This is permanent supportive care housing. Now, let me read this to you. It's quite interesting because most of the people in the community don't know this. There's a program called No Place Like Home. It's with the California Housing Authority. They're also, Gavin Newsom is putting another project through called Care Court Systems. That's not online yet, but I do have an email from the SHE organization that they will take people from that as well. But the existing one, where they'll take clients from, they can take clients from any county. They can take clients from across the state. It's not up to the county anymore. Once that facility is built, it is a chain of facilities throughout the state. They have 6 of them in the flat area of Madera, and they can take them from anywhere they want to. So it's not necessarily just that.
So if there was political pull, all kinds of games could be played rather than
It's just financial.
Well,
it's financial for the organization. I mean, that's straight up the issue. It has no real political pull. If you have friends that want a person in there, then you can have a little bit of favoritism. That's all standard stuff that goes on. We know that. Both of us know that. But it's financial. You always got to look at it as being financial. They're building this huge project, 120 units. They've got to keep it full. They got to keep the numbers coming through. They've got to make their payments. They got to pay their staff. They got to keep their organization going. So it's all financial. But the people that are involved in that this is the population to be served. Adults with serious mental illness or children with severe emotional disorders and their families, and persons who are required or at risk of requiring acute psychiatric inpatient care, residential treatment, or outpatient crisis intervention because of a mental disorder with symptoms of psychosis, suicidality, or violence, and who are homeless, chronically homeless, or at risk of chronic homelessness. At risk of chronic homelessness includes persons who are at high risk or long-term or intermediate homelessness, including persons with mental illnesses existing, institutionalized settings with a history of homelessness prior to institutionalization, and transition age youth experiencing homelessness or with significant barriers to housing stability.
So that doesn't sound like regular low-income housing, number one.
No.
Number two, you said a couple things about what it was adjacent to. Now, there is the not in my backyard syndrome, but if these are people with very real issues, they're not regular poor, they're very real issues, why would you put them next to the elementary school? You mentioned the boys club.
Yeah, the Boys and Girls Club. This is a what happens is when people are working off of grant money, they want to get as many pools of money as they can. So now they're taking senior citizens, low income individuals, and they're putting them in with these psychiatric needed individuals, people who have severe issues going on. They're putting them all under one roof. Yeah, they say it's 12 buildings. No, it's all within one compound. It's a fenced in compound. Very dangerous to do all the way around. If they wanted to do low income individuals along with senior citizens, that's actually healthy because you have families in there. The senior citizens see kids running around and the families, they help each other out. It becomes a nice, capsulized community within a community. It's actually good. It's healthy. But to throw this other element in there is asking for trouble. To throw this element close to a school is asking for trouble. That element should not be in there. But yet, they all went after me. And I get a kick out of this. I wish I was this powerful. That I can go in and make a 2-minute comment at the Planning Commission, then go in and make a 3-minute comment at a Board of Supervisors meeting, and I shut down a project that my opponent has been working on for 2.5 years. Maybe, just maybe, the reason why this project was pulled by the SHE organization is because it didn't have community support, it didn't have community involvement, it was the wrong location, Everybody was standing up against it. There was hundreds of letters that were sent in. They're claiming that I did it for political reasons. No, I didn't do it for political reasons. I did it for the protection of our community. And everybody who stood up against it did it for the protection of the children within our community and the community itself. And my opponent refuses to acknowledge they completely failed on bringing the community in and planning this project out properly.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and take a break.
Absolutely.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So, thank you to everybody that's watching through social media, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, hopefully on Rumble soon. Please like, please subscribe. When we come back, we're going to start talking about, Mark actually has a plan for his county, and there's a system set up through government that creates a plan. It doesn't control everything. It's not, a top down. It's goals largely.
It's the bottom up, Eric. It is the community, and the Supreme Court has ruled on it. It's the community up.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today I am joined by Supervisor candidate Mark Reed. He is running for the 5th District in Madera County. Welcome.
Absolutely. It's always fun to be here. There's one last thing I wanted to address pertaining to my opponent's petulance in his campaign and his supporters. They're misguided in certain ways, and they're good people, but they're just misguided. Bobby can shut it down by simply putting a post out there that he does not support this. He does not support this kind of behavior. But this is the mentality of my opponent. And that is, and it's the mentality of his supporters. This is a paragraph taken out of a long dissertation of a Facebook post.
Well, people get brave when, it's all online.
The keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
And this is one of the 5 individuals that I pointed out in my mailer who are from the far left who support him.
Interesting. What?
Vehemently.
Far left supports a Republican candidate?
Absolutely. Well, because he's not a Republican.
Well, but he pretends to be a Republican.
Well, he just registered last year as a Republican for this seat.
Huh.
Yeah. So
how committed is he to Republican values?
As long as it gets him the seat.
Oh, that's right.
That's his commitment. But this is, they're calling me the dog whistler. This is their outlook of all of Madera County, and the conservatives that are in Madera County and the Republicans that are in Madera County. They call me the dog whistler. It says Mark Reed has perfected the dog whistle, known as a coded message communicated through words or phrases commonly understood by a particular group of people, but not by others. More often, they are of a racial or racist nature. We're calling everybody racist in here. Reed uses these to reach out and to get supporters who are bigots, intolerant of others, not like them, prejudiced and hateful, while hoping not to offend others. Now, the primary election was real close. They're offending half of Madera County. Half of Madera County by calling them bigots, racist, prejudiced, everything else under the sun. Is that a campaign that actually wants to represent the district? Is that a campaign or a candidate who wants to represent Madera County as a whole?
Well, clearly they've made up their minds, but they see diversity as things like skin color or gender preference. And I actually see diversity as diversity of thought, because the rest of that isn't too important to me at all. What's the color of your skin? Who cares? Who you sleep with? I make my choice. As long as you're not affecting kids, what do I care?
The diversity of thought is what, because I've testified on 4 occasions in front of the FCC about vertical integration consolidation. They used the word diversity in the 1934 papers to establish the FCC. It talked about diversity of ownership. It wasn't diversity of color. It was diversity of thought, ownership. You had to have different people bringing the news out. Diversity of thought is the foundation of America. Flat out. That's what makes us strong. You have to have that tolerance level and acceptance of different thoughts, different ideologies, different traditions. Now, this could only come from a Democrat. Now, we talked about it briefly, and then we're going to go right into this contract. We talked about it briefly. Only a Democrat, realistically, only a Democrat would make this complaint to the FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Committee. And the complaint, and they've made 3 of them on me already, and they're all outlandish complaints, but this one I thought was the funniest. Because he raised $141,000, spent approximately $130,000. He only got 200 votes more than me. This complaint was Mark Reed has not accurately reported several mass mailers that were sent and during the primary. Expenses for these mailers were slim to none, as were expenses for sign. Reed has dozens of signs and warrant much higher expenditures. I order up the signs. I order up the mailers from a print house. I negotiate out the price. They send me a bill. They send me the product, and they send me a bill, and I pay for it. And they're complaining that I spent too little. Don't you want a county supervisor? I'll just write to the audience. Don't you want a county supervisor who knows how to negotiate deals, who will protect your money and your interest? That's what I'm doing in my campaign. My opponent has taken his donors' money, and he's wasted it frivolously. He spent, like I said, $8,000 on a photographer.
But he's beautiful, so he needs that.
Oh, he needs
They
it.
Probably also need to style his hair. That probably includes hairstyling.
He needs it because he needs the beautification. He doesn't have it naturally. That's brutal. Sorry. But, you'd made me digress a little bit. Stop it. But this again is where you look at why have the people backed him that have given him $10,000, $5,000. It's all out of the area money. There's two reasons why a candidate will get serious backings. It's because he is intelligent and he knows how to get the job done, and they want somebody in that office to get the job done, even if it's for them. If they don't mind, if he can get the job done, they will back him and support him. That's what a lot of my backers are doing right now. Or they back him because he's ignorant, he's petulant, and he's easily controlled. And they can dictate to him or her what they want out of him.
Well, interesting. A whole bunch of developers gave him, Fresno developers gave him lots of maximum donations.
Lots of money. A lot of developers and investors gave him $5,000 checks, a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not against development. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely, and this is going to good lead into this contract. I'm not against development, but I believe the community has to have a seat at the table. I believe in having community advisory committees that direct the development and direction of development within their own communities. It has to be community driven. It can't be outside driven. We work with the developers to make a development that fits into the community. We work with the developers to work within the county's infrastructure. We have to develop an infrastructure. And this is where it dives into, and thank you for printing this out. We're going to be releasing this. I'm not going to really be talking massively in depth. It's about a 15-page document with all kinds of reports and surveys and projects that are involved in it. And it's called the Contract for the Community. It is an economic policy blueprint for Eastern Madera County. And it gives the overlay of what I stand for. It gives an overlay of the policies that I'm going to chase down. It has all the different titles involved in it, which goes from the general plan. It goes to the community area plans, which there's 9 of them. It goes into the commercial development, industrial development, tourism development, housing development of both long-term rentals, short-term rentals, vacation rentals, affordable housing, rooftop permits, of expediting these permits through the building department. It gets into the fire protection of fire plans, roads, 2 roads, ingress and egress. It gets into the fire protection recovery plans as well, fuel reduction, increase of manpower throughout the county, increase of equipment and stations countywide, and also deals with the fire insurance premiums. It dives into utilities because you can't build a community up. Everybody wants affordable housing. You can't do that unless you make capital investments into the sewer and water. And that's really critical. They've been talking about this for probably 15 years now, about the water issues. You can't keep making developments and percolating the sewer water into the ground because we have a fractured system. The fractured system, that sewage water will make its way down to those veins and will poison them. You'll be sucking up some pretty nasty water.
So what you're saying is you need a sewage treatment plant wherever possible.
Wherever possible. There's several of them up there. If you want to start building out Oakhurst, you want to start building out certain areas, you have to start looking at sewer treatment. Now, all sewer treatment plants will treat the water to a level 2. Level 2 you can use to water alfalfa, water food, crops. Mm-hmm. You can water the vegetation along streets. You can use it in construction for dust. You can use it for fire. You have the big ponds, so the helicopters can come in, suck that water out, go use it. Rather than using palatable water, why not use this water?
So pretty much everything short of drinking it.
It's pretty much
drinking and bathing.
And they've put that out there, this toilet to tap. There's a big problem with the toilet to tap philosophy, and that is that the sewer systems and our waters, they do not test for drugs or narcotics of any kind or any prescription. Any kind of drugs. They don't test for that in water. Okay, so you can do a toilet to tap, but you have no idea. Someone flushed down a whole bunch of volumes or whatever, and you're going to, drink this water. They just don't test for it. So we have no idea. Birth controls, all kinds of stuff gets flushed down there. So I'm not a proponent for the toilet to tap, but it can be used in, recovered water, right? It can be used for a number of different things rather than using palatable water. And this is part of that plan. Also, you have the solid waste out of the sewer. Okay, you can use that in compost, have a gigantic composting. And they do it now. These are not new ideas. They use it for composting. They sell that product out to the farmers and to the ranchers out there. They use it plowing into the fields, everything. And so it's not new concepts, but it's concepts that need to be brought into the county to be able to start dealing with the growth process. We're still a small county. Land mass is 2,100 square miles. We're about 165,000 people. But at the same time, you start looking at how are you going to use these things? How do you protect? Now, you dive into the protection of the community. As I was saying, Eastern Madera County, the general plan of Madera County has not been addressed since 1995.
Wow. Now,
there's a mechanism that by state statute, they have to have a mechanism for up to 2 to 4, a minimum of 2, up to 4 times a year, you can amend it. And that's through the Planning Commission. That is the conditional use permits, or you give a waiver on certain zoning issues for somebody to do something. Last time the general plan has been amended was 2015. Now, the 9 area plans specifically in the Eastern Madera County area average 23 years old. There's a state statute that says that the general plan, the overall unincorporated areas of all counties within the state of California, is a 5 to 8 year cycle that they redo the general plan. The housing element of all plans have to be done 4 to 5 years. And this is state statutes. This is mandatory.
So you find people from the community, these are like appointed positions?
No, these are people within the community that will get together. Now, the 9 area plans are already there. 2 of them are already reconstituting because of me coming out and talking about this. 2 of the 9 are already reconstituting the old committee. They've found all of the people that were on it before. Some of them passed away. They're bringing on new people. This is the bottom-up approach. This is exactly what's needed in the community, to give the community their voice once again in the process and the direction, because there's literally 7 elements in a general plan and area plans that have to be touched. That's the bottom-up approach of giving the communities a voice. What direction do they want development in? What direction they want safety in? How do they want roads? How does the fire addressed? These are the safety issues. Water is another big issue. They deal with that. SB 244, the underserved communities, all deals with those. So this contract is going to be coming out. We're going to do a press conference, I believe, next week. It's going to come out because this election is not about me. This is not a popularity contest, even though my
It both is and isn't.
It is by the name, but it's popularity of ideas.
Yeah.
That's all it boils down to. When you have no ideas, what do? You tear down the personality of another person. You tear down the credibility of another person.
Well, I want to point out that thinking that your opponent was going to be on my show, I spent quite a bit of time researching and found, Sierra News, the various places where he made comments.
Well, Sierra News, mind you, is owned now by Wade Wheeler, Tom Wheeler's son.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, I found very few actual opinions. There was a lot of happy talk from Bobby McCauley, but he didn't really take strong stances on anything. Yeah, which was just disturbing. He told people what they wanted to hear. He said, "I'm going to have a plan. I'm going to have a plan. I'm going to have a plan." Has that plan appeared? Because I saw a lot of, "I'm going to have a plan on fire. I'm going to have a plan on this." I haven't looked in the last 2 weeks. Has something appeared? We're getting close.
These plans have not shown up. He hasn't presented anything. He expects to ride in on the coattails of his parents, and he expects to ride in on the coattails of Tom Wheeler. But yet people have been demanding from me a plan. This has been in the makings. To come up with this document, I had probably about 8 different meetings with about 24 different leaders within the community, and we've come up with this document. And it's more of a document, like I said, it's a policy blueprint. This is what I stand for. This is the direction it's going to go in. Within the first 2 years, I will have the general plan redone. I will have all the area plans redone. But this is the communities redoing them. It has to have a county support level. It has to have 6 by state statute. It has to have 6 public hearings. Then it goes to the board of supervisors for approval and adaptation to the general plan. If we can't do the general plan in-house, then I will hire a consulting firm to go ahead and assess the entire county and hit all 7 points of the general plan. The Supreme Court has said this is the contract between the citizens and the county government. They have to adhere to that general plan. Now, the biggest thing that they've been doing at this point in time, they've been going after my comments. Like I said, every time I come up with a comment, they go after it. And they go after it because they want to tear it down and discredit it. And so Tom Wheeler has come out and said several times, the general plan gets redone twice a year, every year by law. No, that's the amendment process. And that's it. And some of the area plans have been amended. They haven't been amended. The general plan hasn't been amended. In the last 28 years of the general plan, I think we're facing different issues. I think we're facing different housing issues, water issues, road issues, safety issues,
homeless issues,
homelessness issues, that's safety. There's a whole bunch of things that need to be addressed, but it has to be addressed from the bottom up. Now, I was in a conversation with a person the other day, and he said, "Well, no, the general plan is being redone right now." I'm like, "Not that I'm aware of." And I've been in conversations with the planning department. I said, "Not that I'm aware of." And she says, "No, it is." And so then I dug a little deeper. And then what she's being said is the general plan is being adopted or changed or updated based on Tom Wheeler's and Bobby McCauley's desire to create a community service district from the 1,000-foot level up. A community service district is the offering through a basic committee that's established. And I'm going to give this short executive summary of this. It is offering the 19 city services without becoming a city incorporated. Each one of these services, once it's brought online, the county no longer can supplement that service with your property tax money. It's illegal to do so. So the funding for these services that are engaged in by a community service district by state statute have to be funded by fees and assessments. My opponent keeps saying, well, we're going to have a tax sharing revenue agreement. They can't even get a tax sharing revenue agreement with the city of Madera right now. So what makes him or Tom or anybody else think that the other 4 county supervisors are going to send money back up to the mountain? Right now, they don't send any. They're not going to send it. It's a pie in the sky dream, thinking that they're going to get a tax sharing. So how do you fund the community service district now? By state statute, it can be up to 1% assessed fees on the improved and unimproved parcels within the service district.
So your property tax
can double. Because right now, property taxes based on Prop 13 is about 1.12. I forget. I just pay my property taxes. I don't even like looking at it.
It's something close to that.
Well, because Prop 13 created us to be on the lower end of property taxes throughout the union of the 50 states. But because of fees and assessments, we're the 7th highest tax state in the union. If this community service district goes through, we could be the highest taxed, property taxed county in the United States. In the United States, because these fees will be specifically on this.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break.
Okay.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So when we come back,
yes,
hope and solutions. There's things to complain about, though.
Yeah.
I think they're all reasonable complaints today. Mm-hmm. And you talk some about the limitations, but what do we do to fix it? So
elect me.
So let's go ahead and come back.
How much time?
8 minutes. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Welcome back. Today I'm joined by Mark Reed. He is running for Madera County Supervisor, District 5, which is essentially all of the eastern Madera County, which is largely rural, mm-hmm. and foothills, and there's some Madera Ranchos too, but it's largely foothills, kind of mountainous.
A lot of cattle, a lot of ag, city populations within 17 different communities out there, but it's a very diverse community. The eastern Madera County area. It's the largest portion of land mass within the county itself. Okay. Now, we get into, we talked about the petulance. We gave the campaign update. We talked a little bit about my, the assaults and the attacks on my, how would you say, integrity and my parking. That's so important, my parking. And them calling me a liar, and we've been able to show which campaign is doing what very effectively. But this is where it dives into a real campaign, and this is reaching out. I've earned my votes. I went out and I met an elderly couple, and I'll use just the first name, Joyce. She was kind of on the fence watching all of this horrid campaigning. And it's not from my side. It's from the other side. And I reached out to her and I said, let's meet. So I met her and her husband. He's 88 years old. We sat down and we had a wonderful conversation. She went ahead and posted this on Facebook, which I thought was tremendous. And I'm getting these constantly. There's so many people who had supported my opponent in the primary. And now they're finding out exactly what he's about. They're finding out exactly what I'm about. And these are major people within the community. They're all jumping ship and they're joining my campaign at this point. This one comes very simple. It says, addendum, for those who may not have read all of the details, this is one of the hit pieces that he put out on me, He says, for those who may not have read all the details, I wanted to share with you the end results. Mr. Mark Reed reached out to me and suggested we meet and greet. My husband and I met with him for over 3 hours and shared life experiences. We asked his opinions on many issues facing our community. On every concern, I found him to be well informed. On the issues we faced, he appears to appreciate the legalities of the county, state, and federal levels. He has a vision for Eastern Madera County, 3 exclamation points on it, beyond a few years. I'm personally going to vote for the individual that has a proven track record in business that has shown that they can successfully implement plans. After our meeting, both my husband and I agree that we will be voting for Mark Reed for supervisor. Thank you, Mark, for your graciously giving us so much of your time. This is how we run campaigns. We come up with ideas. We come up with solutions. The average individual within a district, they want somebody with leadership. They want somebody with proven leadership. They don't want this petulant garbage that's been going on. They want somebody who has an idea, they have a direction, and it's not a dictator direction. It's a direction from the bottom up. Are you going to appreciate and value your constituents? Are you going to call them racists and bigots because they don't agree with you? Are you going to call them racists and bigots and prejudiced because they have a different political ideologies? Are you going to reach out to them and sit down and have a civil conversation? My door has always been open to everybody within the community of saying, reach out to me. And everybody can. You can call my cell phone number, 656-9825, 559 area code. Or you can email me at mr@supervisor@markreed.com. And I suggest you all do that. I'm very approachable. I sit down and have conversations with anybody, including the people who are spying on me, taking pictures of me at the bank, taking pictures of me at the supermarket, parking in the handicap spot. They could have walked up and said, hey, Mark, do you have a handicap? It seems like you walk around pretty well. Do you have a handicap? And I would look down and sure do. I have a visual handicap. And if you would like, I can prove it to you. Here, sign this waiver that if I hit your car, I don't have to pay for it. Because in a visual handicap, being blind in one eye, your depth perception is off. That's all there is to it. So I'm very cautious of how I drive. You can drive as a cyclops, and that's what I call it, as a cyclops driver. But when you get into close quarters of parking, you can end up hitting stuff. You know, I always joke in the beginning with the handicap, they used to put the parking post right on the other side of the tire stop. Well, I was probably responsible for knocking about 25% of those over because I'd hit them because I didn't know how close I was. I'd hit them, knock them over. I had to get out of my truck, get a chain, pull it back up straight, and then park. So it took a longer time parking. But this is what we need in the county. We need to address our general plans. We need to address our area plans. We need to bring back a voice to those who enjoy ranching, who enjoy farming. In the O'Neill's area, the Raymond area, they want open space. They want 40-acre minimums. They want to protect their water rights. They want to protect their way of life. They want to protect their communities. They also, within the small cities like Oakhurst, North Fork, as it develops, the community wants to have a say-so in the direction that the communities go in. They do not want a community service district with 5 board members from out the entire eastern Madera County telling them how they're going to live, telling them how their city is going to grow. When this document comes out, there was a Root Act report that was done back in 1993, and it was commissioned by the Coarse Chamber of Commerce and Oakhurst Chamber of Commerce, called the Beautification of Oakhurst. It laid out exactly how the suggestions of how that community should be developed, keeping in mind the historic nature of Oakhurst and making it a destination point for visitors that are going through to Yosemite and are going over to Bass Lake or even into North Fork. You have to have those general ideas that the community approves of the direction they want that community or their city to go in. Oakhurst is growing. You're not going to stop it. But we need to have a say-so from the smallest person up.
So managed growth.
It's managed growth, but it's managed by the people. It's not like this last, housing project where it's been in the works for 2.5 years. Nobody knew anything about it. The community wasn't brought in. All of a sudden, it's sprung on them. All of a sudden, everybody is a villain for not agreeing with it, with the way they wanted to do it. And then I become the villain because I'm the candidate running for office, and I gave a total of 5 minutes of conversation, and I'm responsible for shutting this down. No, the community shut it down because the community didn't want it. The community is really upset because they wasted 2.5 years in planning. I plan on sitting down with the SHE organization and finding a better location for affordable housing and senior living because we need it. And we do have the ideas and concepts for each of the communities to have that. So please visit my website at markreedforsupervisor.com or just text me at 559-676-9825 or email me at mrsupervisor@markreed.com. And I'm happy to sit down with you one-on-one. You can come to any of my events, find out, grill me, question me, and you can find out exactly where I stand. Again, thank you, Eric, for having me back on your show.
Glad to have you here. If you like what Mark's doing, hey, get a hold of him. Who we pick, who represents us, matters. Get involved, folks.
Absolutely.
I think that's a wrap. I thank you for your time. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. We're on Facebook. Just briefly, one more time, go through contact information one more time.
My direct cell phone number, which I will take calls from anybody, is 559-676-9825. You can text me on that, call me, or you can email me at mr@supervisormarkreed.com. But I would be happy to sit down and meet with you anywhere and have a conversation. You'll find that I'm a very approachable individual. I am very knowledgeable once people get to know me about the issues in the area. But I approach things on a businessman's level. You have to have a structure. The best way of looking at that, Eric, is can you imagine trying to find Tercero Viejo if you had a 1980s Thomas Guide map book?
I used Thomas Guides, and
so did I.
They were a challenge.
So you know what it is.
Yeah.
But if you have a new area in an old book, it's not there. We have new problems facing the county of Madera. We have water issues, safety issues, fire issues. We have road issues. We have development issues, housing issues. Those are all in the general plan. And that general plan is from 1995. That is 28 years old. It has to be redone in a competent manner, not a hodgepodge way of a little piece here, a little piece there. If we're going to get this county going in the right direction, that has to happen. The individual area plans, the 9 area plans within Eastern Madera County have to be done, because that's how you give a voice to the people of those communities to be able to say, this is the direction we want to go in. This is the contract that you have to adhere to by the Supreme Court. This is how we work. This is how a county works. It's not a dictatorship.
What a crazy idea.
It is. That's horrid, isn't it?
Well, Mark, I thank you very much for this time.
Absolutely.